Hi, this is Tim and Joel,
Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses,
a podcast about the outdoors, hunting, and
and being a steward of the land.
Established in 1934, Pete and Shorty's is located on Main Street, Clarksville, Iowa. Pete and Shorty's is famous for their half-pound burgers, hand-breaded tenderloins, and homemade pizza. The beer is always cold, and the Bloody Marys are the best in town. Stop in and tell Mike and Amy that the Two Dumbasses sent you. Iowa Missouri Hybrids has been a family-owned business since the 1930s. Located in historic Keosauqua, Iowa, Aaron and his team are a one-stop shop for farmers, hunters, and landowners. For your conservation program, CRP, food plots, and all planting needs, give Aaron at IMH a call and tell him the Two Dumbasses sent you.
Tim, welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. It's been a long time, dude.
it has been a long time, and I'm to blame for a lot of that, actually. So
what we're calling this is you're on special assignment, right?
Yep.
People need to know what that special assignment is. It just means it's been cutting into our podcast timing.
yes, that's totally true. So this special assignment's taken me out of the area, as you know, and when I do come back, I have pretty defined missions on what I need to get done. So probably a good place for us to start, actually. So I'll start since I've been going on. CRP has been one of my primary missions. So as far as getting the soil ready, getting the seed, putting in the fire break, getting the CRP planted, and now we're into our next session because this is Father's Day weekend. Mowing, getting everything mowed, and so that I'm up to my first mowing's complete, and now I have another mowing to do here probably in a couple weeks. And for our listeners, just an FYI, I actually went back and listened to our previous podcast with Kevin Anderson on CRP prep, etc., because I couldn't remember a couple of things just to make sure I had my I's dotted and T's crossed. So, and it worked.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yeah, you've been busy. Yeah, well, you mentioned it's the day before Father's Day, so middle of June here, and it's been Billy Blazes hot, like Congo hot, right?
That's right.
Vietnam hot. So it's hot, right? But we did get some relief last night. We got 2 to 3.5 inches, depending on who you talk to. So the good news with that is Mrs. Dumbass and I came out to the cabin this week, and it was hot, but we got up early in the morning and did some replenishment of our woodshed. So some wood cutting and wood splitting.
Nice.
So that feels good to have, if something. Not that winter's going to come in July, but it's good to have the woodshed full, knowing that you can lean back on that when hunting season comes back around.
Yeah, you're all prepped.
Yeah, all prepped and ready to go. Other than that, it's been, seeding and battling weeds in my food plot. So I've got water hemp again this year, and but it's in corn. The corn's, at least waist high, if not higher. So, but it's just, it is just mowing and maintenance, and that could be spraying and whatever. But that's been keeping me busy.
Absolutely.
And
you've been covering for me. You've planted one food plot for me, which I now need to go and spray. But you've been super helpful for me.
Yeah, well, that's what podcast friends are for, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Should we talk about this episode?
Yeah, let's
Set
do
this
it.
up. So, we didn't realize it. We were just kind of thinking, man, it's been close to a year since we started this from our first podcast. And you looked it up, and it's just a couple days past 1 year. So this episode is the 1 year anniversary episode.
Yep.
And we kind of want to just talk and hit some high points of about the podcast and some favorites and some things that worked well and things that didn't work well during the year, and just kind of revisit. I think that's important to look back sometimes.
We actually have a huge announcement too.
Go ahead, I'll let you do it.
So we have secured one of our targeted vendors, if you will, for a sponsorship. And Joel did all the legwork with this, and talking with the owner of the company. And we are proud, very proud, to announce that Nose Jammer has decided to be a sponsor of our podcast.
That's pretty exciting stuff.
It really
is.
is.
Jazzed when John Redmond gave me a call back from Nose Jammer and said so. Yeah, so you will see, in addition to Pete and Shorty's and IMH Iowa Missouri hybrids, we're working on the production piece of the advertising, but we'll have a Nose Jammer advertising on all our episodes coming up very soon.
And that is, I can't tell you how stoked I am. I know we talked about it the other day, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it's super nice to have sponsors that with products or services that we truly believe and use, right, ourselves. And that's kind of how we approach the sponsorship in our first year. It goes a long ways. When you believe in something, it goes a long ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. There's going to be more stuff on Nose Jammer, some giveaways. Super excited.
Yeah. So now that we got all of this material, we've got to reward our viewers, right?
That's
so
right.
That's the intent.
So hey, Joel, we went in as part of the podcast and started to look at, how many episodes had we done? Who had we done the episodes? And then we went into some data analytics, not just with YouTube, but also with our audio podcasts, right? And so what did we find out? Do you have that handy?
I do. So let me just, in no particular order, but let me just throw some numbers at our viewers, right? So over the last year with the episodes that we've had had over 5,000 views or listens. And from this point, I'll just call them views, but it's the audio version and the video version combined.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
A year ago, there's no way we would have ever thought we would have that much viewership, right?
Yeah.
So that's a blessing. 111 subscribers. So the subscription, and we would encourage folks to hit that subscribe button. The benefit of that is when new episodes come up, it'll flag you saying, hey, there's new material out there to go and listen to or watch. So that's the important of that subscription piece, subscribe. So we'll just encourage you right now to hit that subscribe button, and we'll go from there.
And that really helps us too. I mean, as we talk with folks like Nose Jammer, it allows them to see how our views and our subscriptions, et cetera, and it enables them to want to jump on board and help us as well. So this is, again, all about trying to provide content for you, the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And then 1,500 hours of listening and watching time. So 1,500 hours.
That's a lot.
It's like almost a full person 1 year, right? Job.
Full time
doing that. And then here's the big number. The big number is over 43,000 impressions. So that means that Two Dumbass logo that you're seeing on our hats, and that Two Dumbass logo that you're seeing on T-shirts, and that comes up when when the YouTube episode starts. That has been seen over 43,000 times by our viewing public.
Yep, and elsewhere, not just on our show, but they're putting it on related content and flashing our logo.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is super
really cool.
43,000.
43,000. 60% of the folks that are listening or watching us, it's on their cell phone, which is, I'm old school. I think you're a little more new school than me, but that's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I thought it'd be more on our laptops, actually.
Yeah, just viewing ways, but hey. And you know what? Give us some comments, those folks that are using your phones to view our podcast. Give us some feedback on what we can do differently to maybe enhance that watching or listening. Because I can tell you right now, I'm sitting in front of in fact, my computer screen's gone from this to this over the years because I can't see it, So we're certainly watching these videos in a different media than you are.
So then, I mean, is there any other statistics before we talk about our global presence?
Yeah, so just a couple more stats is, we've had 12 unique participants, interviewees, if you will, over the year, and 14 total guests that we've interviewed over the year. So again, those are just two numbers that I would have never even thought a year ago that we would reach.
And to me, I think having guests on the show is just so much more enriching, not only for the listener, but just for us. I learned so much from these folks, and I'm super excited to see what the rest of the year brings because, to me, I think those guests help make the show.
Yeah, like you, I've gone back and watched our shows to make sure I'm doing my CP25 or my Fireburn or those type of things, European mounts. The way I thought I should do it. It's encouraging. It's a great source of
content,
knowledge and content. Yeah.
I know. Hey, we have global presence.
Yeah.
This is really impressive.
I know you're excited about this. So you want to take these on, or
I was surprised to see that we had viewers in Russia and Ukraine. So we have some listeners in Russia or Ukraine or something like that. What else? Who else do we have?
Yeah, so our viewers are spread across 6 countries right now. So the United States, of course, but Germany, Ireland, Australia, Russia, and Ukraine. So
pretty fun.
Yeah, that's cool. We're gonna have to check our security systems, make sure we don't get hacked, huh? Hacking into the dumbass vault.
That's right.
That's funny.
All right. So we have a lot of other stuff to talk about with regards to our shows, right?
Yeah, let's get into some of the themes, right? So what we wanted to get out of this episode was, hey, let's revisit, and again, not in great detail, but let's just reflect on some of the themes of some of the podcasts that we did. So I think the biggest theme that we started off with one of the first episodes, and then it continued throughout the year, is what we're calling the Iowa DNR series. And, that involved Jeremy Cochran for the forestry. Kevin Anderson was on a couple times from a biologist standpoint. The numbers guy, who can forget the numbers guy, Tyler Harms, right? And I'm looking at
Jim Coffey,
the turkey whisperer, Jim Coffey.
Dr. Rachel Rudin.
And Dr. Rachel Rudin, which was a great episode on, diseases in deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, that show continues to be our number one on audio podcasts. However, it lags on YouTube, so I just find that interesting. But it's by far our number one audio podcast.
I think I learned more in that episode than any other episode. And in fact, it'd probably be healthy for me to go back and watch it again because there's just so much information to take in.
Yeah, if you're a deer hunter, and I don't care what state, it doesn't matter. That is one episode you should listen to.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and with the HD, it's changed so fast. It'd be interesting a year later after the podcast what's changed from an EHD perspective, because it has.
Yeah, EHD and CWD, right? Yeah.
Any other takeaways from that lump of Iowa DNR series?
Well, all of them provided some stories that I just thought were interesting. The one that just pops to my head was the one where Tyler was going to go and tag geese. What was it? Was it whooping cranes? I can't remember.
Yeah, some kind of crane or something of that nature.
And so and I didn't realize when they molt, they're basically, they can't fly, and that's when they go out and tag. I'm pretty sure maybe it's the swans.
It was swans.
It was the swans, and so I thought that was interesting. Jim Coffey's always got a plethora of interesting facts and tidbits. I mean, he's been in his position for so long, and he knows so much of the history for Iowa. It's just interesting. I'm trying to think. Kevin, I could talk to Kevin probably all day long, right? And then all the stuff we learned on plant ID with regards to, and also forestry practices from Jeremy Cochran. I mean, I know I'm leaving somebody out, but they were all great.
Yeah, it was a big library of information and knowledge there. But with Jim, it was armadillos, right? I had not even a thought that Iowa had armadillos or armadillos were in Iowa, and he's the Iowa armadillo specialist. And he's like, yeah, someone's got to do it, right?
He talked about wild hogs, right?
Wild
feral
hogs. But that was cool. And then with Tyler, what sticks in my head is we got into trim tab conversation and Occam's razor, and had some good yucks along the way with that, right?
Yeah.
Trim tabs. I think that came up in
both episodes.
6 months apart.
Yeah.
But,
why don't we do a quick intro and a little bit of bio so people understand your wealth of experience and knowledge that you're going to bring to our show today.
Okay. So you guys had talked to me about, where did I come from? Where did I grow up and stuff like that. And I very humbly grew up in West Central Iowa.
which leads me to our introduction here of our guest, Jeremy. I'll let you introduce yourself, and your official title is District Forester for the state of Iowa.
Right. My name is Jeremy Cochran, and I'm the District Forester for the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. And my forestry office is in Sheraton at the Stevens State Forest Headquarters.
Yeah. But we are in Sheraton, Iowa, and the state park here, and the DNR has a research center here, and I'm happy to introduce and honored to be here with Jim Coffey. And Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you specialize in?
Yeah, so I grew up in southern Iowa, actually about 10 miles from where we're at right now, so I've got a great affinity for oak, hickory, deciduous forests and the landscape that this part of the state provides. It's much more unique than other parts of the state of Iowa, and I encourage people to travel the entire state to see how unique we really are down here.
We'll get there, right? But with that, let me introduce Tyler Harms. Tyler's with the Iowa DNR. Tyler, why don't you kind of give us a little intro, and then I'm sure you've been pretty busy the last week. Love to hear what you're doing.
Yeah, I have been. Thanks, Joel and Tim, for having me on this podcast. Really excited to be here. As you said, my name's Tyler Harms. I'm the wildlife biometrician and deer program leader for the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. It's been a pretty fun week for me in the last week here. I know we're going to talk a lot about deer today, but my last week has actually not really been related to deer. We have a project here with the DNR right now looking at monitoring trumpeter swans. And so my last week's been chasing trumpeter swans around. And the way I explain it is I'm a wildlife math guy. So as a biometrician, I provide technical guidance on statistics.
Hey, can I digress again? I am the master digressor. So, you talk about steering a battleship. My family always tells me I know a little bit about a lot of things, which is usually amounts to worthless information. You guys ever heard of the Trim Tab Society?
Trim Tab Society.
Trim Tab Society.
I haven't.
So look it up, Google. So it reminded me when you were talking about how do you steer a battleship. Well, you don't steer a battleship with the full rudder. I don't know if you guys know this. And if you look at the rudder, there's these little things. It's called a trim tab. Mm-hmm. Usually it's about 20% of the overall rudder. So whenever they want to steer the ship, they aren't turning the overall, they're turning the tabs.
Yeah.
So it's Trim Tab Society. So the belief is in the Trim Tab Society is, hey, you can get that 20% of the, or smaller of that population. If you can start to steer that, you can change the direction.
Yeah.
Sounds like a future book title, buddy. Yeah.
There is a book.
Oh, damn it. There's always a book.
All right. Sorry for that digression.
All right.
That's great.
That was a good digression.
It was.
All right. We got Occam Razor and the Trim Tab cited in the same episode here. So we're good. I personally want to, say thank you to the Iowa DNR, first of all, and then specifically those guests, because they've provided so much to this podcast, but from a landowner, they've provided 100 times more support and knowledge to me. And it's out there, folks. You just got to go out and just reach out to them and ask for help.
Yeah, it's a great resource, and they're highly capable. And in most cases, I mean, it's paid through the taxes. So a lot of times, it's some free capability that's at your disposal. All you got to do is reach out and get it.
Absolutely. And then the next theme, we about midway through the year, we kind of did a little feedback session, you and I. It might or might not have involved some alcohol, but we were kind of reflecting what can we do different or try different with the podcast, and we decided to do what we decided to call tips and tricks, which were smaller episodes, more project related episodes, and we've gotten great feedback on that, and they've been a blast to do, because you can do a lot of them pretty quickly, and production is pretty easy. But any of those stick in your head from a tips and tricks?
Well, so I was going to use the word pivot. We pivoted.
Oh, man, that's such a good word. I got to write that down.
We pivoted, and so one of the findings we found, and some of the analysis we did, kind of a mid-year check, is that a lot of our viewers in particular, not so much on the audio side, when analyzing the data, would kind of they'd be looking at the videos on a kind of a surf. So we had been doing these episodes, were 40 minutes to an hour long, and what we found was there's a segment of the viewers that really want to have, those 10 to 15 minute clips, and hey, what can you teach me in 10 to 15 minutes in a hurry? And so that pivot, we started to do tips and tricks. And so I think you'll see, as listeners and viewers, we have probably just as many tips and tricks now as we have episodes.
Yeah, and then we're planning on continuing that, right? So, in fact, we've got a couple in the can right now, meaning that they should be released here in June or early July.
Yeah.
So, excellent.
So you asked my favorites. I mean, my favorites probably, I think the episode where the gals did on canning venison was pretty good. It's escalating up in views, and I think we learned also as deer hunters, we're not even outside of some steaks, steaks and hamburger, from a venison perspective, the rest is going to be canned.
Yeah, and I think our viewership learned a lot from that, because we've been talking about the Mrs. Dumbasses in our lives, and I don't think anybody believed we were ever married, right, until they actually saw them on TV, or at least two women that we may or may not have paid to be on TV.
That's right.
Tell them we're wives. But yeah, those big girls did a great job, and I know they're biting at the bit to do another one. So I think ongoing, it's not the last time you're going to see it.
So we get the deer I shot last year, we named Lamont. And Lamont, actually, my wife ended up giving out, I can't tell you for Christmas how many canned jars of venison. And I was just talking to my sister here this last week, and she was talking about, she goes, hey, I had some canned Lamont the other day, and she was just commenting about how delicious it was, So it's like winner chicken dinner,
Hi, welcome YouTube viewers and podcasters everywhere. I am Samantha, wife of a dumbass. This is my friend Ruthie, another wife of a dumbass.
Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Well, I'm just a single owner of the business. I can see it. Can you see it?
I can see it.
Is saying that, hey, it's detected the battery. So we are in good shape. Now what we're going to do is connect this, and we should be seeing bubbles. So we've clicked on the battery. We're on the inverter. We've got everything connected. You can hear it's not very loud. That pump's not very loud at all. And what you're starting to see is we now have bubbles. So we're going to let this run overnight, and we're going to see how it performs. All right. We've got probably a third left of what we made of our solution, but just as an FYI, that's all going to be garbage. We're just going to throw it away. We've got this all pretty well coated. I don't think you can coat those teeth enough. I mean, you really want them to be bright, and they have a lot of darkness in them. What do you think?
Yeah, it's cool. You put yours on really super thick, and mine's a little thinner. So I did that on purpose to see if there's a difference or not. But yeah, I mean, it's easy, and it's just like painting a board, right? So
we're going to let this cure. We're probably going to let it cure overnight, and what'll end up happening is this solution.
Lingering on this one, but that's not bad. You're not going to be afraid to hang it for sure.
So that said, we just power washed off the last piece. So basically, it was 36 hours probably total solution time on it. We didn't get any
sorghum. This is a wonderful quail plot if it had a little more grain. A little bit more meat to it if it was a little bit bigger. Still viable for wildlife. You can see some tracks in here. But if I'm planting sunflowers, the key with planting sunflowers, if you can do it, is as weed free as you can get. And that means no grasses. A few broadleaves are not a big deal, but if you see foxtail and stuff like that, you don't want it. Because when you start mowing that off in August to get the doves coming, pre-hunt, pre-season, you want to be able to have bare ground.
But some other ones, right? Some other ones that stick in my head, or we did the creek crossing. Yeah. I thought that was really super interesting with the way Josh could just pick up a piece of timber and drive it in the ground, and the mechanics and the engineering behind holding back the water, but yet be able to cross it and things like that. So I thought that was a very interesting episode for me. The biggest one, the one that's getting the biggest hits and the most viewership, is around the solar aeration in the pond.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was, that took us. We probably filmed that over 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
But it's 700 some views plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so obviously a subject that gets searched a lot and a big need out there. So, and yours is still working, and it's working great. And, it's this time of year when you need it the most to keep that algae out of your pond.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does work great.
The European mount, I thought, was a really good one. You and I did it here at the Two Dumbass Cabin, and, they both turned out great. I'm looking at mine, right now. And, I'll do that. In fact, we found a couple dead deer over the winter time that have the skulls and the antlers on it that I plan on, which is even kind of nicer, because the hard part of the European mount for me was the trimming, and
it's nasty.
Yeah, and I'll remind you again, don't let those things set out more than a couple days.
That was
because
funny.
Oh man, and they get nasty. Nature has its way, right?
That's right.
So we talked about key and venison creek crossing, and then who could forget about the dove plot tips and tricks?
Yep. So let's talk dove plot, right? So I ended up I followed Kevin's advice. You tilled for me since I wasn't here. We made it bigger. It's probably 3/4 of an acre, I would guess. We put in a ton of sunflowers. We had, I would say, intermittent luck on the sunflowers, so we've since added sorghum.
Yep, and some more sunflowers. So
okay.
Hopefully that helps.
Yep. So it's coming. Again, we got a bunch of rain last night. I've put electric fence around it, which seems to be working. Keeps Herbert out, that's for sure. So yeah, more to come on that. We'll provide an update on that later in the season.
And I can see that being an episode is, dove hunting. And you'll see what that dove plot turned out to be. So it's encouraging, wouldn't you say? Encouraging at this point in time, but I would also say, I think we've learned a lot with it, and there's some things that we'll try differently next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't complain about that. All right, that's kind of the themes, but so let's talk about just in general some of the episodes, Tim, that you chalk up to be your favorites. We've kind of intermingled some in already, but is there any other ones we haven't touched on?
The food plot Scientologist. Aaron Palm was a guest on our show, and that guy has so much knowledge, and we have just scratched the tip of the iceberg with him. We haven't gotten a lot of views on that, but to me, that was super interesting. And I've go back, and I can guarantee you next year I'll go back. And we're definitely going to want to do another episode with Aaron.
Yeah, and I mean, we're already putting orders in for fall seed with Aaron right now, right? So, yeah, I agree. He's definitely going to be on.
And, they're one of our sponsors. So I would encourage you to look Aaron up for food plots if you've got anything for your fall needs, and tell him the two dumbasses sent you.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said he's just been
busy
as crazy, especially coincidentally right after he became a sponsor, right? So,
Yep.
Damn right. That's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's how it goes.
Panel pretty soon, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get on with our special guest. We have Aaron Palm with Iowa Missouri Hybrids. Aaron, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
I call you the food plot Scientologist.
Careful with that.
No, really. I mean, you do a lot of great things. You've really been working with your seeds and trying to get with the appropriate blends. I think we both have turned a lot of people on that. But we'll get more to that here in a little bit. First off, welcome.
Yeah,
And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I think the first thing we'd like to talk about is, hey, let's just talk a little bit about your business. Why don't you tell us about how you came to be and some of your experience?
Okay. So Iowa Missouri Hybrids, I believe, has been here since, I believe it was about 1939.
Any others?
Gosh, you know what? The trail cameras. Trail cameras were, I learned so much. And it was just from our inventory. So we did a couple different episodes on trail cameras. We did kind of a Super Bowl on trying to match cameras up against each other to see who's going to win. And we ended up with a winner. And then what we did is we took our inventory of cameras and had them all. And then what we did is basically a review of all of them. And I think we learned which cameras were performing and which ones didn't, whereas before I had no clue. And I certainly have a different filter, and especially now where I'm going to use those cameras that are less performing on where I'm going to put them. I think we're going to expand on that this next coming year.
Yeah, hold on to that one. We're gonna leave this episode with that one.
Okay.
So yeah, but you're right. We're gonna talk about we're gonna continue to talk about trail cameras, but maybe in a little different way.
You bet.
Yeah. But today's episode is a recap and a different look of these trail cameras we've got in front of us. So just to revisit these trail cameras, we've got the Acaso, and we'll put the model numbers in here. We've got an Acaso, we've got a Wild Game Innovation, we've got a Stealth, we've got a Browning, we've got a Moultrie, we've got an 8-man. We even got an 8-man in here, and we've got a Primos.
Yep.
So we certainly not all the cameras that are out on the market, but the ones that we had, we really wanted to do some testing on it. So hopefully our viewership has been watching our bracketology, but we wanted to take a little different approach to ranking these cameras on more than just picture quality and sensitivity.
Yep. The winners of Primos came out with 394 points, basis our scale. That was our number one, but very close behind it was the Moultrie at 384 points. and then just behind it was the Browning at 378.
Yeah, I agree with that. The ones I would add, I know just a recent one, the prairie dog hunt to North Dakota with you and I just recently.
It was a ton of fun.
Was a ton of fun, and the video turned out better than I thought it was going to, because when you're out there trying to videotape that, you can't. It's so hot and sunny, you can't see the screen. So I was just literally pointing the camera
300 yards.
Yeah, in the direction where I thought the prairie dog was, and so there was some good. It turned out much better than I thought it was going to be, and just personally experiencing it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great territory out there. Just way different than the Midwest, but beautiful in its own right.
I would agree.
And then I talked about the European mount already. I know it really hasn't gotten a lot of views up till this time, but I would just encourage folks to go back and look at that one, because, man, I learned a lot doing the European mount with you. Thank you for teaching that. And then, man, I'm just so happy the way it turned out.
That's probably going to be my default. I'll probably get one more deer mount in my future at some point, hopefully. But I think the default mount for me is going to be the European mount. I'm just so happy with how it looks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to take a special deer probably for us to get it, a head mount on it. And I hope I have that problem. But
that's right.
I say that every year, and so far, money's still in the bank. But
it'll happen.
Cool. Let's open the future here. So we got the crystal ball out in front of us, and let's talk about some podcasts. What we're thinking. Don't hold us to it, but we're pretty confident in these, right? So what can our viewers see moving forward?
I would like to leverage QDMA, quality deer management. I think there's a lot of people out there that have their own little properties, and I think it'd be good to bring someone on and talk about that. It would be a nice segue from Kevin Anderson's discussion on habitat and building on that with QDMA.
Yeah.
I think it would be super awesome. I think also, I know we wrote down a list, but I can't remember if we wrote this down. I think State Tree Nursery.
Yeah.
Would be another good one.
Yeah. What a great resource, right, for our state and for landowners. It doesn't even have to be big landowners, right? I think it's open to anyone in Iowa, but
there's several states that have them. I mean, I know Tennessee has one. I know Kentucky has their own state nursery, and you basically are buying these trees at a very subsidized rate. I think the trees we buy, they range anywhere, so they're probably 3-4 foot tall. 3-4 foot tall, they range anywhere from 60 cents to $1, and I find that usually they're still alive a year later. Now I know that the deer will put a herd on them in the fall and the winter when they're looking for food, but generally speaking, they do a pretty good job.
And all the trees that we have planted here, red cedars mostly as a screening between the road and the Two Dumbass Cabin, came from the state. And, they've been in the ground 6 years now, and they've gone from 2 foot to over 10 or 12 feet now.
Yeah, nice.
So, and, it's so economical. So definitely we're definitely going to have to figure out how to do that. Any others?
Oh gosh, what do we have there for our list? So we have a special guest that we're hoping to bring on here a little bit later in the summer on how to film your own hunt. I'm going to keep that tight to the vest with regards to who that is, but pretty excited about that.
And a little clue, it's not going to be us, right?
Won't be us.
This is a professional organization / people that do this for at least part of their living.
I can give a clue that they have their own cable show.
There you go. Yeah.
Some really cool things happening.
Yeah, so we got to make that happen. They've agreed to it. We just got to make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Get you off special assignment.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, I mean, cooking. We've talked about hunting in a lot of different capacities, but the brainchild that we have is what do you do with it after you have it packaged? And so we have some some friends and some entrepreneurs in where we live that have restaurants. So we're hoping to tap their expertise and get them on video and share some recipes.
That'll be exciting.
I've been looking forward to that for a long time. And invasive species is coming down the pike here real soon. And so this is a time of year to start dealing with invasive species. I mean, that's when you're going to see them, and that's when you're going to hit them hard. So we're going to focus on 2 invasive species on an episode coming up.
Excellent.
And oyster mushrooms. So I'll leave we'll leave that up for them to watch the episode. But again, that's going to be an episode coming up here in June and July on oyster mushrooms. I would just tell you, if you're not into oyster mushrooms or this is new to you, you need to do your research on it and get out in the woods and find these, because they are fantastic.
They're awesome.
Oh man.
And now our property does not have them, or I have not found them yet. But I know you and Joe both have ample quantities, which is great. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't want to let anything more out of the balloon here, but I think I've got some secrets on. I'm seeing more of them come up, and I'm seeing some trends. So
all right,
we'll share that.
Good.
And I'll let you talk to the last one there, because I'm really excited about what you're doing.
So the next, we're going to do a trail camera review on cellular cameras, and I have a brand that I've migrated to, a couple different price points, and I'm going to keep that to myself at this juncture, because we're in the process of testing them out and seeing how they work. But we will be bringing that to you, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, literally right now, you just pulled them out of the box a day or 2 ago, right?
That's right.
So, but either way, we're going to do a podcast on them and go from there.
Yep, we'll do what's considered probably an unboxing and then a review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, be cool. Cool. All right, man. I guess that's a wrap, huh?
It's a wrap. Been 1 year.
Been 1 year. It flew by. In some aspects, going through this, building this episode, we're like, man, that was just 6 months ago. And then other episodes were like, man, this just flown by.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really has been a lot of fun.
Congrats.
Congrats to you too.
All right. But until the next episode,
be safe, have fun,
and get outdoors. Thanks for listening or watching our show. We have some exciting topics and guests coming up.
We ask that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We look forward to hearing your suggestions for topics,
questions, and comments. This is Two Dumbasses signing off. Until next time, be safe, have fun, and get outdoors.